Welcome back everyone to more Tech Corp here at Pit Gaming. In our very first video, we took a look at how to get started, your very first hires, setting up some of the basics of our tech company that we'll use to grow and expand upon as time progresses. Well, now it's time to look at, in today's video, the next progression, which is creating our own products. And then in future videos, we'll get into the actual manufacturing portion of it. You'll see some aspects of manufacturing that I've already unlocked as we go along, but we're not going to deal with those specifically in today's video. So in order to make our very first product, we're going to need to go into the factory interface. And again, you see some manufacturing going on there, but we're not going to deal with that today. So we're going to go under product creation at the bottom, and we've got these 6 categories. And you can see I've already unlocked 2 of them. Now, the ones at the very top require you to do some other things first. So we're not going to get into those just yet. Those will be later on down the line. So what we're going to do is select video, and then we've got, once more, additional options. If we want to unlock some of these, you can see that it's going to cost us $50,000. Not a huge investment for us at this point because we have a little over $600,000. So we're fine. But for our purposes today, we are going to choose the camcorder. Okay, so we're going to make a camcorder. Now, here's where the interesting parts begin, and I struggled with some of these next few screens for a while before I finally figured out sort of what the game wants me to do. So you have all of these product parts that are applicable to this particular item, the camcorder, and you can see we've got Bluetooth and display is not a part of this, but we have to choose components that are going to go into each of these slots, starting with the CPU. And you can see we've got Gen 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. Now, where did we get to those? Well, I'm going to back out and show you. These come from, let's make sure we stay on paused right now. Even though this is just an example playthrough, I still don't want us to get too far along. These need to be researched, and that's what we have these people doing. So at the very beginning of the game, we were researching exclusively utility. Now you can see we have some other options, but utility hardware, we're up to Gen 5, and we're ready to start researching that. In fact, this particular researcher, I'm going to get them started on mobile hardware for future products. So that's how you get these done. Once you get these researched, then you will need an engineer to create your blueprint. Now, for that, we go under prototyping, and here you can see all of the things that we've researched. We simply drag these over, the ones that we are interested in. And in fact, let's go ahead and get Mobile 3 RAM, and we'll just load up a few of these, and then Gen 4 metal. So we've got this maxed out. It's going to cost us $15.6 thousand, and about 65 days we'll get to started. And now we get to choose which engineer we want. And for our case, we only have one right now. So we'll let him get started on that. And as soon as we get time back moving, our engineer will start working. So once again, the progression is you need researchers to research through all of the tech tree, essentially. Then you need to create prototypes and assign an engineer to work on that particular prototype. So here we have the blueprint. You can see this is the 11th blueprint that I have created. There are the 4 items that we've put in there, and this bar will slowly fill up as our engineer begins working on that. So once our engineer is done, then we will have these products available, and they will also show up in notifications on the right-hand side of the screen. And once they show up there, they will be available to us to use whenever we're creating a particular product that uses those modules. So CPU, we want to use for our product today, we're going to use the best generation we have for each thing. So now we've selected our CPU. We're going to do the same thing for the RAM. For how much RAM? Well, we're only far enough along to get 64. We'll go back to Gen 4 here, and you can see that we have a lot of Gen 4 stuff because we had researched all the way through Gen 4, except for it looks like the body case. And there might not even be a Gen 4 for the body case once you get to plastic. So there you go. We've selected everything, and our production cost is going to be $61 per unit. Over here to the right, you see our various stats as to where we're going to line up at the beginning. Now we're going to call this camcorder, let's call it, well, actually, that's as far as we can get. We've run out of space to type in. So I'm just going to do camcorder 2 and then select our brand. I've already put Nipit Gaming as a brand. Otherwise, you could simply create it, type in the brand you're interested in. We're going to use the KPG brand. Then we're going to click on Next. Now we need to set up what our product looks like. I don't know that this has any difference in the sales. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We're still early on in the game's release, so who knows? We're going to go with a very basic design there, and then we're going to take a picture of it, and that will become our photo of that particular model. Now we need to set up the components. So what we're going to do is we've got UI, operating system, database, networking, and video. So for our UI, we've got some UI modules. You can see we started out with 50. Now we're down to 40 because I've done a couple of products in learning the process. So I'm going to drag and drop in any of these spots where there is a plus, and you can see that we have changes made. So the bugs came down a little bit and features go up. Okay, obviously we have a limited number of these. So we've gotten pretty good features that we're going to get out of this particular module. Now let's go add some QA modules so that we can try to reduce some of these bugs. There we go. One of those greatly reduced the bugs and added some performance and battery life. So now you can see if we continue to play around with this, how this is going to move things along. Personally, I am just going to load up a little bit more with the QA modules. There we go. We get into at least the green on all of these, including performance, and we're almost completely free of bugs from that perspective. Now the operating system over here, let's go ahead and see what we can do with, look at that. One QA module helps quite a bit. So we're going to drop a few of these in there. And the way we create more of these is to have our developers work on them. Have them work on a QA module or a UI module and so on, like we've seen in the past. And the way it works is for every 10 modules that your developers create, you get 1 unit over in the components section. So it does take some work. And in fact, something in the future in the game, I would probably want to have a dedicated developer staff doing nothing but that. As I particularly find the QA modules to be a great addition. All right, so let's take a look, see where we are here. I think I'm going to actually back out of one of those and save that for later. Let's see, do we have anything for the operating system? Nothing I see off the top of my head. So let's go ahead and put that one back. There we go. That should be good enough. Then we go into database, and we have database modules here. So let's go ahead and work on that performance a little bit. Let's see, it moves it to the top. I always forget that. After you use it one time, it moves it all the way to the top. So we're going to drop a few of these in here, and then we're going to do the same thing with the QA modules. Okay, there we go. Still some bugs in there, but we have full performance out of our database. And again, you can play around with this and see exactly what modules you want to use. Networking, we're going to do this very much the same thing. In fact, that one looks like it is still, yeah, there we go. We get a little bit more mileage out of the QA module over here at this particular point. Let's now go back to the networking and see what we get. Okay, no, we don't want that because it's adding a bunch of bugs into the fray, and we don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and just put a few more of these QA modules in there. Still not going to be great, but that's okay. It'll serve its purpose. And then finally, video modules. Now you don't have to add a whole bunch of these if you don't want to. You can see I'm not even filling up all of these, even though you certainly could if you wanted. So what we're going to do is similar to what we've done in other cases up here. We're going to drag a few of the video modules out there, and then we're going to go and grab some QA modules and make sure that our quality is as good as it can be. And actually that looks pretty good to me. Let's see what happens if we add one more QA module. Okay, not bad. That gets us even further along, but of course you have to be wary of how many units you're using and how many you're creating from your developers. So right now we don't have a platform to use. That's a little bit farther into the game that you unlock that, and no add-ons as well. Again, a little bit farther into the game. So right now we're just working on a basic product. We're going to click on the next key, no bundles. Right now we have not unlocked that. The launch, you can see minimum number of days is 60. You generally will not need quite that much whenever you're working on these, but it helps to get a little bit longer amount of time if you've got your developers working on a lot of different things and you need some extra time. All right, so right now we're going to outsource production. We're going to ignore the fact that we already have some production in our factory area, so we're going to outsource. We're going to select that. And who do we want to do the production for us? Here you see all of their various aspects from quality, cost, and speed. We're going to choose Fireglass at the bottom, 70 out of 100, except for speed, which is 50, and that is perfectly fine. That should easily get us done within our 60 days. That's no problem. So, but they're a little bit cheaper, and of course quality isn't quite as good. So we're going to go there. Now we have to, it doesn't really tell you this on the screen until you mess it up, but you have to have a minimum of 2,500 quantity. We're going to choose, or excuse me, 5,000 quantity. We're going to choose 2,500. And we're going to see what happens if we do that. Same thing with a marketing budget. There is a minimum marketing budget that it will allow you to get by with. So we're going to choose a number here and see what we get. So right now, only $163,000 is what we would cost to launch this product. So as soon as I hit launch, it says, hey, it's been created. So it let us get by with 2,500 this particular time. Again, if some other products in the past, I've had it where I had to give it 5,000. So click the amount that you would like to actually have and see what happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So at least get to the minimums. So we've got a fairly small marketing budget and we've got a fairly small quantity budget. So the amount of money we can expect to make will be fairly limited. And in fact, we're going to take a look at that right now. Let's go ahead and once again put it back on pause. And you can see we've got a status indicator for our camcorder number 2. Production progress is going to continue on till it reaches its full number. It tells you 2.5K is going to be our inventory. Estimated sales, well, we could have gotten up to about 10K on that, but for our purposes, we're starting out very small. Then we need to work on software. And so the question becomes, how do we do that? Well, software is done by the developers. So what we need to do is come into our manager. You can also, if you don't have a manager, you can also do this manually with each developer you have. In my case, I have 3 developers and they're sitting right over here against the wall. So we're going to click on the manager, set task. And instead of choosing one of these components at the top, we're going to come down here and choose a product, in this case, camcorder number 2. So they're going to work on this software and fill up this bar until it is done, which should be well ahead of schedule. Okay, next thing we need to do is hire a marketer. I have one marketer on staff and he is sitting right here up against the wall. To his right, we'll click on him, select product, and we'll have him work on the one product that we have going right now. He's going to start the setup for phase 1. There will be, I think it's 3 phases that you go through for each product, and we'll have to decide how we spend our money, and that's coming along here in just a moment. All right, so with all that done, I want to fast forward a little bit to and look to another camcorder, the original camcorder that I made. Let's click on the More key, and this just gives you an idea of what's going to happen. Depending on which components you use and the quality and usability of your product, you're going to get various different levels. This one didn't go too good on brand strength, which is misspelled there. Brand strength didn't do so well on this one. Other products I've tried, it's done very well. User satisfaction has always been sort of middle of the road, give or take a little bit on either side. Appeal has always done fairly well for me, and demand has always been pretty good. That's based mostly off of our population and what our population demands. And camcorders are pretty good. So now you can see that we have run out of inventory. This will update in real time. This particular launch is completely done because we run out of inventory. So we've sold all 5,000 units that we created, and you can see our net profit is only 34.7 thousand. And this is where I have to admit to you that that stunned me the very first time, because that's a lot of money. We put $413,000 into all of the different aspects of this particular product, from marketing to the outsourcing and so on, and we just didn't make very much return. And one key component that I never saw, and it could be very simply that I'm missing it, that I haven't seen it so far into the game, but I have not seen anything to change the sales price. The sales price comes in at $86 or $87, I think, and it's just automatically generated as best I can tell. So keep that in mind. These initial products, when you're outsourcing, are going to cost you a lot and not give you a huge return. We've already seen in our very first video that we can make more profit than that from doing one of those software contracts that was outsourced to us. So if you're looking for early money, this has not been the way to get it from my experience. But again, there could be certain things that are either not added to the game at this point or that I'm simply missing. That is entirely possible. But I did want to give you guys an idea of what it looks like as you run through the process. The first time that I went through this process to try to create a product, I didn't get so far. And the reason I didn't get so far is because I would get into these particular menus. Let's say I would choose, let's do a photo camera, which was the very first thing that I chose. What would happen to me is I would get all my selections made, whether it was Gen 1 or Gen 4. I would get everything selected. Then I would move on to the next screen. Let's just go ahead and take a picture of that one. We're not going to use this anyway. I would get here, and I was having a lot of trouble figuring out how this screen worked. Or let's go ahead and just drag one in here just so it will highlight and allow us to move on to the next screen. And then I was getting stuck at this screen, mostly because at the time that the campaign or the tutorial wants to unlock this for you, you don't have enough money to actually do it. I found that I had maybe a couple of $100,000, maybe $300,000 when I first got to this screen trying to launch my first product, and then very quickly found out that I didn't have enough money to even do it, so I had to back out constantly until I could finally get enough money to actually select everything I needed and launch the product. So again, keep that in mind. This is not something that I would recommend getting into until you have at least probably 450, 500,000 or more. And again, that's just because of the cost and just how much working capital it's going to take out of your company. Now, we're ready for the announcement phase of our marketing. And you can see, wow, we're going to go with a trailer for sure. And we have $10,200 to spend on this particular area. That is what we set in our budget earlier, or at least a portion of that. So if we just drag this out and we'll pick a couple of these options, each of these options will lead to other options. And then we'll do an event. So there we go. We broke it out a third in each of them. We got $60 left. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a little bit more into the trailer. Use up as much of that budget as we can. Click on next. What kind of focus do we want? We're just going to choose features for this first. And I'm going to go exciting. And then we're only going to make it 30 seconds. Hopefully that means that we can use more of our money for a shorter amount of time and get better quality, but we'll see how that works out. Now, our budget, $3.4 thousand that we set for an endorsement. Now we need to choose the celebrity that we want to endorse. Remember, $3.4 thousand is what we have selected, and we've got a couple of different options that I've seen, actually about 3. And I tell you what, let's just go ahead and do Daniel here. He's social media. And then let's see what else we've got. 2.2 remaining. And we'll just do Tom, who is an actor and not quite use everything. We're going to stick with exciting. And let's just do, just for example purposes, we're going to choose everything on direction. Now we need to spend our event budget, which is $3.4 thousand. So we can sponsor a soccer match, have ads during that, an MBA. Let's go ahead and do that. And so we're all set. So now the announcement stage has been configured, and we'll keep an eye out to the right to show us exactly what we need. We'll go ahead and archive our previous portions, but that's basically how you get your very first products up and going before you get into manufacturing and some of the other add-ons and things a little bit later. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you very much for joining me. And by the way, if you have any questions, hit us up on the Discord for Knee Pit Gaming. The link is on the main page of the YouTube channel. But again, thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned as we will continue our coverage of Tech Corp.